All right, folks, I'm on the line with a happy Hokie, as they say, Darian Grubb, crew chief, winning that big race yesterday in Chicago, that street course up there. Of course, dealt with a lot of rain. And first of all, Darian, I just want to say congratulations. You are a Floyd County native, and obviously the pride of the Buffaloes, and then obviously a proud Hokie. And I tell you, congratulations on such a big win yesterday.
Thank you very much. Yes, I am a very proud man from Southwest Virginia. The Floyd County ties are still tight, and being a Hokie is always a proud moment. And being able to go to a place like Chicago for such a historical event, for something that's brand new, new to NASCAR, new to the city, new to street courses, and be able to pull off the win with a first race event for Shane Van Gisbergen coming over too from the supercars in Australia. It's a day of many firsts, and it just can't get much better. Like you said, we dealt with a lot of adversity with the weather and everything else. The city was fun. It was cool to be there. The buzz was really cool. A lot of people really loved having us there. We got good luck, congratulations, and everything else on the subway every day. Those are the type of things that made it really worthwhile.
You know, when I look at your career, you have a strong career. I mean, you've been a part of some historic racing teams: Hendrick Motorsports, Stewart Haas, Joe Gibbs Racing, and obviously Chip Ganassi now, Trackhouse. And I got to ask you, I mean, and you've wore several hats. You've been a crew chief, engineering's your kind of your calling card. But what do you feel like you've learned at each of your stops to make you into the person that you are today when it comes to NASCAR?
Every place has really been different. I've been extremely lucky and blessed to be able to work with some really talented people all along my career. Mostly what it tells me is I'm old. I've been around the block, been to a lot of different places, but working with guys like Tony Stewart, Mr. Rick Hendrick, all these drivers that we've been able to work with as partnerships and taking leadership skills from a Jimmy Johnson, Coach Joe Gibbs, Mr. Hendrick, Tony Stewart. I've had a pretty good teaching crew through my career that's been able to come in, been able to be with Trackhouse now with the new vision that Justin Marks has and what he's put together and things like this Project 91 program. It just keeps it exciting, and you're always learning. You're always trying to better yourself, and I've had some really good teachers.
So when you look at the Project 91, I mean, you jumped in there and you're handling things. I mean, obviously it's a part-time team, but obviously I'm sure with your expertise, I'm sure that you were one of the key guys that obviously you're a part of this. Just how special is it to just, because obviously there's so much with Trackhouse Racing, but this special niche here, I'm sure it's very valuable to be a part of that.
It really is. I mean, we all have our regular day jobs that we have to do. We're still working with the 1 in 91. We were able to win last week in Nashville with Ross, to come together and put everybody in the shop extra workload just to get this 91 to the racetrack. It's a lot of pride goes into it, a lot of extra work, and then we get there and we actually have the performance and pull off the win as well. Everybody in the shop this morning is just ecstatic. I mean, it's just all smiles ear to ear. It's one of the best races we've seen on TV in a long time. I can't wait to get home and actually be able to watch a replay of it and see how it all went. But yeah, just the pride level of working with all this great group of talented individuals is amazing.
This might sound like a dumb question, might be an obvious question, but with Project 91, is it a combination, obviously, of Ross Chastain's number and Daniel Suarez's number, or is it, or maybe I'm reading too much into that? We call it 91.
Yeah, I know that the 1 in the 99 is the big deal because we equal 100 when we put it all together. So that's where a lot of it came from. I think the 91 is just a blend of that, of a number that was available. I'm not sure if it has any special significance to Justin or not, but he's the one that picked that, and it fits well with our group.
So looking at your history, I mean, growing up Floyd County and everything, I mean, was racing kind of in your blood? Is that something you've always wanted to be a part of, basically?
It was always more or less fun. I started out in high school working with the Sweeney brothers there in Floyd, uh, traveling with them, doing some late model races there. At that time, it was Pulaski County Speedway, now Motor Mile, local there in Kingsport, Tennessee, as well on Friday nights. Just basically hanging out with a lot of groups of friends, and we hung out and worked on race cars for the fun of it. I ended up taking an engineering job, and I was still racing on the side as a hobby, truthfully. And I put my resume on the internet just to see where it went. And a couple of weeks later, I'm working for Richard Petty down in North Carolina. So the right things happened at the right time. I've been very fortunate. But working with Jeff Agnew and some of those guys back in the days, that's what kind of got me started and realizing, hey, you can turn this into a career, and it all worked out.
Now, looking at yesterday, I mean, the weather played such a big role the entire weekend. And what was going through your mind? I mean, thinking, well, were we going to get the race in? Will we have to race, Monday? I mean, what was going through your mind? Because I'm sure there was a lot of stuff going on. And then once the heavens kind of, stopped, turned off the spigot, you guys had a chance, but then you had to shorten the race. So, I mean, being a crew chief, I mean, there's so many things that were going on. I mean, how did you manage all that? Because there were so many changes. Even in the middle of the race, they shortened the race to 75 laps versus 100.
It was honestly crazy. We were already walking back to our transporters, getting ready to start packing up to leave because we didn't think there was any way it was going to happen. We had gotten word that within the next 15 minutes it was probably going to be called. And then as we're almost to the transporter, we get a call saying drivers to your cars, the window's breaking. The 12 inches of water had drained out of some of the turns and even pit road. It was amazing to see the turnaround, and you can see the sun start peeking out about 20 laps into the race. So it was just crazy how it changed so quickly. We had to adapt and just drop everything, get everything back on the track. I'd say NASCAR did an amazing job, the whole city of Chicago, what they did for preparing for that. We were able to go through and put it on. And then as the strategy changed through the race, we just had to adapt. Luckily, it worked out really well for us. We actually weren't on the better end of the fuel mileage windows for what it was going to be. So when it shortened, we were easy to make the call to come in and do the pit and get full of fuel and 4 tires. And after that, we just let Shane go out and do his job and drive from 18th to first. And it was just fun to watch at that point.
How much of an advantage was it for Shane to have the street racing experience that maybe some of the other drivers they didn't have?
I think it was a big part of it for sure. But for me, it's really his professionalism. He studied so hard before he came, even though he is a good straight course racer and a good rain racer and all that. Some of these guys aren't slouches either in NASCAR. So he was able to come in, put his discipline to work. He was able to go offline and test when he was trying to pass cars and see what kind of grip level it was. You can see some of those things he does a little different because he's an experienced street course racer. But the other guys were falling right in his tire tracks too and learning the same thing. So it was really cool to watch. But man, he put on a show, and it was really, really incredible.
So overall, looking, Darian, at Trackhouse Racing, you got some momentum. You guys have won 2 straight races. And really over the last couple of years, you guys are really stepping up. I mean, for a team, like we know the usual suspects when it comes to racing, and you've been a part of those usual suspects. But what do you think is the secret sauce with the success that Trackhouse is having to where they're saying, hey, we're where the big boys playing. We're in the mix with things.
It really is that attitude. You just got to say we're in it with the big boys. We are one of the big boys. We use what we get from our partners at Chevrolet and the relationship we have with those other key partner Chevrolet teams to our advantage. We try to extract all we can. We got 135 employees here who just fight tooth and nail for everything they can get, and we feel like a brotherhood where we all are really working together for the same goal. So when we go to the racetrack and we pull off a win like this, everybody in this building did have a part in it, especially because it's not our normal operation. We came in and put this in on the side. We borrowed some equipment. We bought some equipment. We put guys together in the shop, and we were able to go out there and pull it off. And it makes it fun. It's like you're out there with your high school buddies, just in your playtime, and you're having the best time in your life.
So this might sound like another silly question. What's tougher, bigger, crew chief or engineering?
Both have their ups and downs. The engineering, it seems like you're working a lot more with a less defined goal. At least crew chief, you have your team and you have your goals for the weekend, then it resets on Monday. Engineering is more of the long-term projects and having things going on in the background that we have projects going for 6 or 8 months from now that we're trying to get implemented. So it's all the similar work, but the team aspect of the crew chiefing role is what sets it apart and makes it really cool.
And then finally, the NASCAR season is a grind because it's not really from Daytona to the end, the end of the race in Phoenix. It's more than just outside of the racing and all that. And especially when you win, it's so special when you win because now everybody's upbeat, the shop is happy, everybody's excited. But for people who probably don't understand, even from your perspective, how much of a grind is it? Because okay, we won a race, but now we got to think about the next race and then the next race. I mean, there's I guess like in sports, you can't just savor the win. You're thinking about the next one.
Yeah, we always say that the biggest benefit if you can win is coming into an off weekend, so you actually have a week to enjoy it. Now, this is not one of those weekends. I got home and I got in bed at 4:45 this morning, and I was back at the shop at 10:45 in here hanging out with the guys and trying to get things ready for Atlanta. So it never stops. We're always digging. We have 38 races and 39 weeks. We have one off weekend. So it's a tough grind, and we're trying to do more now with our people, trying to make sure they actually get a weekend off at some point. We're trying to train up some people under them so we can always give somebody a weekend off and do some rotation, because it's a grind and the family has to suffer and they have to all work. We all still have to go home and do laundry and mow yards and do all the other things too. So it is part of life, but it's a passion too. So we all are more than willing to go out there and put the extra effort in.
What are some of the things you like doing away from the NASCAR job and with your engineering and even being crew chief? What are some of your other interests outside of NASCAR?
Mostly stuff with my kids, my daughter Gabriella and my son Gavin. It's basketball, mountain bikes. She's into gymnastics and just really spending time outdoors. We try to get up to Floyd as much as we can, which is not very often, but go up to see my grandparents, their grandparents and my family, hang out with them, go up there and ride four-wheelers and hang out in the woods and stuff is a really cool event for us. So we always look forward when we get time back home.
And obviously, you're being a Hokie, you're following all Hokie sports. I mean, what I know you had your eye on everything, but just your thoughts about just the football program, the women's basketball team making a run, I mean, all the sports there. I mean, you still keep your eye on it, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I follow them on Twitter and Instagram and all the other social media sites. I was actually texting with Bud Foster just 2 weeks ago because got to be good friends with him. And we're actually working with some of our pit crew development programs through some of the college athletes as well. So we have a tie into the athletic program there. Hey, send us your possible candidates that we can turn into the best jackman, the best tire changer we can have. So we're always trying to pull those connections as well and keep that engineering community as well through the mechanical engineering department there. So all the car programs, it's just really cool to have that network of people that we can continue pulling from.
You mentioned one thing, and I'll be quick. I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate it, Darian. You mentioned something that's interesting. I do notice a lot of pit crews, they do go after college athletes, football athletes. When you look at them, I mean, because they just jump in there and they do their thing. I remember we visited JGR, and a lot of their pit members from various teams were former college athletes. Why are they the ones that seem to have just that extra it factor to be in a pit crew?
A lot of it really comes down to their discipline and the fact that they've been in a program where they're regimented training, regimented practices, where they come in and they follow direction really well. This is a completely different skill to jack a race car than it is to tackle running back, but the same type of preparation has to go into play. You have to know who you're going against for offense and defense, what you're doing, how to prepare, and then go into that grind. If you're going to be going into this type of season doing 38 races, it's all about preparation, flexibility, injury prevention, and all the things that they're really good at. So if we can teach them, they have the athletic ability to be fast. It's about putting them together on the racetrack as a group, as a team, just like any other sport is. And the more people come and see that, they realize it. And then especially if it's somebody that's going from the collegiate level to pro and they don't make it, they still want that team atmosphere. We can provide that here. And that's what is a really cool part. It's Team Trackhouse, and it's just like being in NFL or NHL.
Well, I tell you what, Darian, you're awesome. Congratulations. The pride of Floyd, the pride of Virginia Tech getting it done. Congratulations. Well deserved, sir. And, I got to catch up with you when you make it around Martinsville or if you're in our neck of the woods again.
Absolutely. Be looking forward to it.